A gentle breeze rustles through the trees as the first rays of sunlight stretch across the sky. A stream flows steadily, its waters reflecting the golden morning light. In a quiet corner, an elderly man sits in meditation, his hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. His eyes gaze softly into the distance, not with regret, but with quiet acceptance. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like time has taken something from you? The reflection staring back at you is no longer the one you remember from your youth. Your body moves a little slower. Your face carries the lines of countless memories, and the world around you seems to be changing faster than ever. Aging can feel like an uphill battle, a struggle against the inevitable. But what if the real struggle isn't with aging itself, but with our resistance to it? Buddhism teaches that suffering does not come from growing old. It comes from clinging to what was and resisting what is. The natural flow of life is impermanent, always changing, always moving forward. The more we resist, the more we suffer. But if we learn to accept the passage of time with wisdom and grace, we can find peace, freedom, and even beauty in the process of aging. In this video, we will explore 5 profound Buddhist lessons on aging that can transform your perspective. These lessons are not about mourning what has passed, but about embracing the present, letting go of fear, and finding joy in the journey ahead. Let's begin. You will be forgotten faster than you think, and that's okay. Time moves forward, always flowing, never pausing. The things we build, the memories we cherish, and the stories we tell, one day, they will fade. It is a difficult truth to accept. The career you worked so hard to establish, the achievements you took pride in, the relationships you nurtured, eventually, they will become distant memories. At first, this realization can feel unsettling, even heartbreaking. We spend so much of our lives striving to leave a mark, hoping that our presence will be remembered long after we are gone. Yet life moves on. Our children grow up and become preoccupied with their own families and responsibilities. Friends who once walked beside us may drift away, caught up in their own journeys. Even the closest of bonds are subject to the impermanence of life. This is not a tragedy, it is simply the way of the world. The question is, how do we make peace with it? The wisdom of Buddhism, letting go of the self. Buddhism teaches that our attachment to permanence is the root of suffering. The doctrine of Anatta, or no self, reminds us that we are not fixed, unchanging beings. Just as the seasons shift and rivers carve new paths, so too do we rise, change, and eventually dissolve back into the greater flow of existence. Think of the ocean. A wave rises from the surface, moving with energy and purpose. For a brief moment, it takes shape, cresting with beauty and force. But soon, it dissolves back into the water, becoming part of something vast and infinite. The wave was never separate from the ocean, it was always part of the greater whole. We too are like waves. Our time in this life is temporary, but that does not make it meaningless. The impact we have, the kindness we show, the wisdom we share, continues even after we are gone, just as the ripples of a wave continue to spread long after the water has stilled. A Zen story, The River and the Passing Water. There is an old Zen story that illustrates this truth beautifully. A young disciple once asked his master, "Does it not sadden you to know that one day, after you are gone, people may forget your name?" The master smiled and led the disciple to a river flowing past their temple. He pointed to the water and said, "Tell me, where is the water that was here yesterday?" The disciple hesitated, unsure how to respond. "It has flowed on," he finally answered. The master nodded. "And yet, the river remains." The lesson was clear. It is not the individual drops of water that define the river, but the way they flow together, shaping the land, nourishing life, and continuing their journey. In the same way, it is not our names or our personal legacies that truly matter. It is the goodness we bring into the world, the lives we touch, the love we share. Our names may not be remembered centuries from now, but the impact of our actions, like the river's current, continues beyond us. The legacy that truly matters. Consider this. Do you remember the names of every teacher who inspired you? Probably not, but their influence shaped you nonetheless. Do you recall the name of every person who has shown you kindness? Likely not, but the warmth of their gesture remains with you. A single candle can light 1,000 others without losing its own flame. This is the true nature of legacy. It is not about how long we are remembered, but how we have illuminated the lives of others. Many of us spend our later years worried about being forgotten. We hold on to our achievements, our possessions, our identities, fearing that if they are lost, we will be lost too. But this is an illusion. What truly matters is not how long our name is spoken, but how deeply we have lived, shifting our focus from recognition to presence. Instead of chasing after a name that lingers in history, we should focus on living fully in the present. Ask yourself, am I being kind today? Am I present for the people I love? Am I living in a way that brings peace and joy, both to myself and to others? These are the questions that truly matter. The world will forget us, but the kindness we share, the wisdom we pass on, the love we give, these things endure. Imagine reaching the end of your life not with regret, but with peace. Imagine letting go of the need to be remembered and instead focusing on the beauty of now. Imagine seeing your life not as something to hold on to, but as something to flow with, like a river, always moving, always nourishing, always part of something greater. Finding freedom in letting go. Aging becomes lighter when we release the weight of expectation. When we no longer fight against the natural course of life, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Instead of grasping at the past or worrying about how we will be remembered, we can embrace the present with gratitude and clarity. The next time you find yourself anxious about the future, pause, take a breath, look around you. The sun still rises. The wind still moves through the trees. The people you love are still here right now in this moment. This is what matters. So let go of the need to be remembered. Let go of the illusion of permanence. Instead, live well, be kind, be present, and trust that the ripples you create will flow on long after you are gone. Because in the end, it is not the name we leave behind that defines us. It is the love we leave in the hearts of others. Your body will change. Befriend it instead of resisting it. Aging brings undeniable physical changes. Once you could walk effortlessly, climb stairs without a second thought, and wake up each morning feeling refreshed. Now your body moves differently. Steps feel heavier, joints protest with each movement, and what once felt natural now requires conscious effort. The face in the mirror is not the same as the one you remember from years ago. Wrinkles trace the moments of your life. Silver strands replace the deep hues of youth, and strength that once felt limitless now has its limits. At first, these changes can feel like a betrayal. You may find yourself longing for the body you once had, resenting the aches and limitations that now accompany you. But the truth is, aging is not your enemy. It is simply nature at work. The real suffering does not come from the changes themselves, but from our resistance to them. Why do we suffer? Buddhism teaches that suffering arises not from aging itself, but from attachment. In this case, attachment to youth, to physical strength, to the body we once knew. We cling to a version of ourselves that no longer exists, and in doing so, we create our own pain. Imagine trying to hold onto water in your hands. No matter how tightly you grasp, it slips through your fingers. The harder you try, the more frustrated you become. But if you simply let the water flow, it moves naturally, effortlessly, without resistance. Our bodies are the same. Change is inevitable. No amount of longing, frustration, or resistance can stop the passage of time. But what we can control is our perspective, our relationship with our aging body. Instead of fighting against it, we can choose to honor it, care for it, and befriend it. A new perspective, your body as a lifelong friend. Rather than seeing aging as a loss, what if we saw it as a transformation? What if, instead of viewing our bodies as something that is failing us, we saw them as faithful companions, ones that have carried us through every stage of life, adapting to every challenge, healing from every wound, enduring every hardship? Consider all that your body has done for you. It has taken you on adventures, allowed you to see, touch, hear, and experience the world. It has healed you from sickness, protected you from harm, and carried you through moments of both joy and sorrow. It has allowed you to hold loved ones, to laugh, to embrace, to express yourself. Should we not, then, treat it with gratitude rather than resentment? Instead of mourning the past, we can learn to care for the body we have now, appreciating all that it still allows us to do. The wisdom of nature, everything changes. Buddhism often uses nature as a guide for understanding life. Consider the seasons. In spring, everything is vibrant and full of life. Summer brings strength and energy. Then autumn arrives, the leaves begin to fall, the air grows cooler. But is autumn any less beautiful than spring? Does it have less value? Of course not. The colors of autumn, the crispness of the air, the wisdom of the trees preparing for winter, all of it is part of the cycle. Our bodies, too, go through seasons. Youth is like spring, full of potential and energy. Adulthood is summer, a time of building, of strength. And aging is autumn, a time of reflection, of wisdom, of embracing the beauty of change. Instead of resisting this natural cycle, we can learn to move with it, to find joy in every stage. A Zen story, the cracked clay pot. There's an old Zen story about a monk who was growing older. He had once carried heavy buckets of water from the river each morning, but now his arms shook with effort and his strength was fading. Frustrated, he asked his master, "Why does my body fail me? It once obeyed my every command, but now it resists." The master handed him a cracked clay pot and said, "This pot once held water perfectly. Now it leaks. Does that mean it is useless?" The monk looked at the pot and shook his head. "No, master. It still holds some water." The master smiled. "And does that not still serve a purpose? The water that escapes nourishes the earth. The pot is not as it once was, but it is still of value." The monk understood. His body had changed, but that did not mean he was without worth. He still had wisdom to share, love to give, joy to experience. This story teaches us a profound truth. Aging may change our bodies, but it does not take away our value. Even with wrinkles, even with aches, even with limitations, we still matter. We still have purpose. How to befriend your body as you age. Instead of resenting your body for changing, embrace it. Here are a few ways to shift your perspective. Treat your body with kindness. Instead of criticizing it for aging, appreciate it for all that it has done for you. Speak to yourself with the same compassion you would show a dear friend. Listen to your body's needs. If it asks for rest, give it rest. If it needs movement, stretch or take a gentle walk. Honor what it needs now rather than comparing it to what it once could do. Focus on what you can do, not what you've lost. Maybe you don't run as fast, but you can still walk. Maybe you don't lift as much, but you can still carry love, wisdom, and experience. You still have so much to give. Embrace the beauty of transformation. A tree does not mourn its fallen leaves, it knows they make way for new growth. Your body may change, but that change is not a loss, it is simply a new phase of life. Surround yourself with positive role models. Look to elders who embody grace and wisdom, those who have embraced aging rather than feared it. Learn from their acceptance. Aging is not a decline, it is an evolution. Aging is not about losing something, it is about becoming something new. It is about trading youthful energy for deeper wisdom, trading physical strength for inner peace, trading the rush of ambition for the quiet joy of simply being. Imagine reaching the end of your life not filled with regret, but with gratitude for the experiences, for the lessons, for the gift of having lived at all. So, instead of fighting against time, walk with it. Instead of resenting your aging body, thank it. Instead of longing for the past, embrace the present. Because no matter how much your body changes, one truth remains: you are still here and you are still worthy. You can't keep everyone in your life, and that's natural. One of the most painful realities of life is that people drift away. Friendships fade, family members become distant, and those who once played significant roles in our lives eventually leave, sometimes gradually, sometimes suddenly. We spend so much time building connections, believing that the relationships we cherish will last forever, only to realize that nothing is truly permanent. At first, this can feel deeply unsettling. You might ask yourself, why did this person leave? Was it something I did? Why do relationships change even when we try to hold on to them? It's natural to feel hurt when people you once held close start slipping away. However, Buddhism offers a profound perspective on this universal experience. People come into our lives when they are meant to, and they leave when their role in our journey is complete. Why does this hurt so much? The pain of losing relationships often stems from our attachment to permanence. We want things to last, we crave stability, and we resist change. But the truth is, everything in life follows a cycle. Just like the seasons, relationships have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Some people stay with us for decades, while others pass through for only a brief moment. But each relationship, no matter how long it lasts, serves a purpose. Imagine holding on to a flower, wishing it would never wilt. No matter how much you water it or shield it from the sun, it will eventually wither because that is its natural cycle. If we try to cling to people in the same way, refusing to accept their departure, we only create suffering for ourselves. Buddhism teaches that non-attachment is the key to inner peace. This doesn't mean we stop caring about people, nor does it mean we become indifferent. It means we love without clinging, we appreciate without possessing, and we let go when the time comes. A Buddhist perspective, the flow of relationships. Think about all the people who have come and gone in your life. Some friendships blossomed and faded naturally while others ended abruptly. Some people left without explanation while others drifted away slowly over time. And yet, through it all, you continue to grow, to evolve, to move forward. Buddhism encourages us to see relationships like a flowing river. A river is always moving. Some drops of water travel together for a long time while others separate quickly. But the river itself never stops flowing. Life is the same way. Instead of asking, why did this person leave, ask yourself, what did I learn from this relationship? How did this person shape my journey? Can I be grateful for what we shared instead of mourning what is lost? When we shift our perspective from holding on to letting go, we find peace. A Zen story, the river of relationships. A young monk once asked his master, why do people leave us when we love them? The master took him to a quiet riverbank and pointed to the flowing water. See how the river moves, he said. Each drop of water flows past us, never staying in one place. Some drops travel together for a while, merging and dancing side by side. Others separate quickly, carried away by the current. The young monk nodded. People are like that, the master continued. Some walk beside us for a short time, others for years, but all must keep moving. It is not their departure that should sadden us, but our refusal to accept that their presence was never meant to be permanent. The young monk sat in silence, watching the river, and understood at last, love does not mean possession and relationships do not mean permanence. Letting go with gratitude. Instead of clinging to what is no longer there, we can learn to cherish those who remain. Think about the people who have stayed in your life, the friends who still call, the family members who check in, the loved ones who continue to walk this journey with you. These are the relationships worth nurturing, worth celebrating. And even for those who have left, their impact remains. Perhaps an old friend taught you something valuable about life. Perhaps a past relationship helped you grow in ways you didn't expect. Even if people are no longer physically present, the love, the lessons, and the memories stay with us. Letting go does not mean forgetting, it means honoring what was while embracing what is. Embracing the natural flow of life. When relationships change, it's easy to feel like something is missing, like a part of us has been taken away. But the truth is, life is still offering us moments of connection if we are open to them. Value the people who are present in your life today. Instead of longing for relationships that have faded, focus on those who are here now. The neighbor who greets you warmly, the friend who listens, the grandchild who looks up to you. These are the connections that matter. Make peace with change. Just as the trees let go of their leaves in autumn, we must learn to release what no longer serves us. Holding on to the past only keeps us from embracing the present. Welcome new connections. No matter your age, new friendships and meaningful relationships are always possible. If we keep our hearts open, life will continue to bring people into our journey, each with a lesson, a purpose, a moment to share. The beauty of impermanence. Impermanence is not something to fear. It is what makes life precious. Imagine if nothing ever changed, if relationships never evolved, if everything stayed exactly the same. Life would become stagnant, repetitive, lifeless. It is because things change that every moment matters. It is because people come and go that we learn to appreciate them while they are here. The love you have given and received does not disappear just because a person is no longer in your life. It lives on in you, in the way you love others, in the kindness you show, in the lessons you carry forward. So instead of resisting change, embrace it. Instead of mourning the past, celebrate the present. Instead of holding on, let go with grace. Because in the end, what matters most is not how long someone stays in our lives, but how deeply they touched our hearts while they were here. You are no longer young, and that is a gift. In today's world, youth is often celebrated as the pinnacle of beauty, strength, and vitality. Advertisements sell the idea that aging is something to be resisted at all costs. Wrinkle creams, hair dyes, cosmetic procedures, all promising to turn back the clock. But Buddhism teaches a radically different perspective. True beauty is not found in youth, but in wisdom, compassion, and presence. Growing older is not a curse. It is a privilege denied to many. Every wrinkle on your face is a story. Every silver strand of hair is a testament to experience. Every scar, every laugh line, every softening feature is evidence of a life fully lived. Yet many struggle with the changes that come with aging. Looking in the mirror, we may feel like time has taken something from us. The face staring back is not the same one we remember. The body that once felt strong and capable now moves with a little more caution. But what if aging is not something to fight against? What if it is something to embrace? Buddhism teaches that our suffering does not come from aging itself, but from our resistance to it. When we let go of attachment to our younger selves and see the beauty in where we are now, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. The illusion of youth as the only beauty. Society glorifies youth because it is associated with energy, attractiveness, and possibility. But consider this: what if true beauty is not in having flawless skin, but in having a face that reflects years of kindness, wisdom, and resilience? What if the measure of a person is not in how young they look, but in the depth of their compassion and the peace they carry within? In Buddhist teachings, impermanence, Anicca, is a fundamental truth. Everything changes: our bodies, our faces, our abilities. To resist this change is to resist the very nature of life itself. A Zen story, The Beauty of the Pine Tree. There is a Zen story about an elderly woman who visited a great Buddhist master. With sadness in her voice, she said, "Master, I look in the mirror and no longer recognize myself. My face has changed. My beauty has faded. My hair has turned silver. I feel invisible, as if I no longer matter." The master smiled and led her to a garden. He pointed at a cherry blossom tree in full bloom and said, "This is beauty, is it not?" The woman nodded, admiring the soft pink petals. Then the master took her deeper into the garden and pointed at a tall, ancient pine tree. Its bark was rough, its branches twisted with age. "And what about this tree?" he asked. The woman hesitated. "It is different," she said, "but there is something dignified about it. Something strong." The master chuckled. "That is because you have wisdom. A child may only see beauty in the cherry blossom, but with time, we learn to appreciate the pine. The cherry tree blooms brightly for a short while, but the pine tree stands strong for a lifetime." The woman understood. Her beauty had not faded, it had transformed. The beauty that comes with age. Think about the elders you admire. Were they beautiful because they looked young, or because they carried themselves with wisdom, grace, and kindness? The warmth in their eyes, the way they listen with patience, the wisdom in their words, the kindness in their presence. That is real beauty. Let go of the illusion that beauty fades. Beauty transforms. In your later years, your beauty is found in your presence, your resilience, and the love you offer the world. Embracing the wisdom of aging. Instead of longing for what has passed, consider what aging has given you. Clarity. You no longer waste time on things that don't matter. Resilience. You have faced hardships and survived. Compassion. You understand people better and judge less. Freedom. You are no longer bound by the insecurities of youth. Buddhism teaches that aging is not a loss. It is an unfolding of deeper wisdom. A young person may have smooth skin, but do they have the same depth of understanding? A youthful body may be strong, but does it carry the same grace of experience? When we embrace aging with gratitude rather than fear, we shift from mourning what is gone to celebrating what remains. Practical steps to embrace aging. If you struggle with the changes that come with age, here are some ways to shift your perspective. Practice gratitude for your body. Instead of resenting your aging body, thank it for all it has done. Your legs have carried you through life's journeys. Your hands have held loved ones, created, and nurtured. Your heart has loved deeply, even through loss. Reframe your reflection. When you look in the mirror, instead of seeing what is missing, see what has been gained. See the strength in your posture. See the history in your face. See the wisdom in your eyes. Let go of society's unrealistic standards. Aging is not a failure, it is a natural process. Instead of trying to look younger, focus on feeling vibrant. Instead of hiding your age, wear it with pride. Cultivate a peaceful mindset. Meditate on impermanence. Everything changes, that is the nature of life. Find beauty in every stage of life, just as you would admire both a blooming flower and an ancient tree. Practice metta, loving kindness, toward yourself. Aging is not a battle, it's a gift. Imagine if we saw every wrinkle as a story, every silver hair as a lesson learned. Imagine if we celebrated the wisdom we've gained instead of mourning the youth we've left behind. Aging is not about fighting to hold on to something that is slipping away. It is about opening yourself to a new stage of life, one filled with depth, wisdom, and grace. There is a certain radiance that only comes with age. The confidence of knowing who you are, the strength of having endured life storms, the gentleness that comes from understanding others. That is a beauty that no cream or dye can replicate. So the next time you catch your reflection and feel tempted to lament what has been lost, pause. Look deeper. See the life you've lived. See the love you've given. See the wisdom you carry. And wear your years with pride, like a garment woven with experience and grace. Because true beauty is not behind you, it is within you right now in this very moment. You will witness many losses, but love never disappears. As the years pass, loss becomes a more frequent companion. The faces you once saw every day begin to fade. Friends who walked beside you on life's journey take different paths, and one by one, loved ones depart from this world. Grief is not something you can avoid. Sooner or later, it finds its way to you. Losing the people we love is one of the deepest sorrows of life. The empty seat at the dinner table, the phone that will never ring again, the absence of a familiar voice. These reminders of loss can feel overwhelming. It is natural to grieve, to feel as though a part of your heart has been taken away. But Buddhism teaches a powerful truth. Love never disappears. Those we have lost do not vanish. They live on in the kindness they showed, the lessons they taught, and the love they left behind. Love does not die with the body. It continues, carried forward in those who remain. The unavoidable nature of loss. No matter how much we try to hold on, life continues its natural course. Parents pass away, siblings leave, friends drift apart. Some losses come suddenly, like a storm that appears out of nowhere. Others are slow, a gradual fading away. But all loss, whether expected or not, brings pain. Why does loss hurt so much? Because we are attached to permanence. Because we wish to keep things as they are even though everything in life is impermanent. Because love is deep, and when we lose someone, it feels as if part of us is lost with them. Yet, Buddhism teaches that clinging to what is gone only deepens suffering. Instead, we must learn to see loss not as an ending, but as a transformation. A Buddhist parable, Kisa and the mustard seed. There is a well-known Buddhist story about a woman named Kisa who was overcome with grief after the death of her only son. Desperate to bring him back, she carried his lifeless body from house to house, pleading for medicine that could revive him. Finally, someone told her to seek help from the Buddha. She went to the Buddha begging him to save her son. Instead of refusing her request outright, the Buddha made a simple request. Bring me a mustard seed from a household that has never known death. Filled with hope, Kisa hurried from door to door, asking every home she visited for a mustard seed. At each house, she was met with sympathy, but the answer was always the same. We have lost a father, a mother, a child, a friend. We have known grief too. By the end of the day, Kisa understood. She was not alone in her suffering. She returned to the Buddha and said, I see now that death is a part of life and that no one is spared from loss. The Buddha nodded and replied, just as the candle's flame is passed from one wick to another, love does not die, it continues in another form. How love lives on. If you have ever lost someone dear to you, you know that the pain of grief does not simply go away. It stays, sometimes as a sharp ache, sometimes as a quiet longing. But over time, if you allow it, grief can transform into something else, gratitude. Think about the people you have lost. They may no longer be physically present, but do you still remember their voice? Do their words still guide you? Does their love still influence the way you live? This is how love remains. The people we have lost live on through us, through our memories, our actions, and the way we continue to carry them in our hearts. Consider a beloved parent or grandparent who has passed. Perhaps they taught you kindness, patience, or resilience. Maybe their laughter still echoes in your mind. Maybe their lessons still shape your decisions. Though they are no longer here, the love they gave has not disappeared, it has become part of you. Buddhism teaches that attachment to the physical body creates suffering, but recognizing that love is beyond the physical brings peace. Moving forward without forgetting. One of the biggest misunderstandings about grief is the idea that we must move on. But Buddhism does not ask us to move on, it asks us to move forward while carrying love with us. How can we do this? Honor their memory. Share their stories. Continue their kindness. Live in a way that would make them proud. Accept that loss is a part of life. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me, recognize that loss is something every person experiences. You are not alone in your grief. Everyone, at some point, must say goodbye to those they love. Transform grief into love. Every time you think of someone you have lost, instead of focusing on their absence, reflect on the love you shared. Love does not end, it only changes form. Let their love guide you. If someone you loved was kind, be kind in their honor. If they were wise, share their wisdom. If they brought joy, bring joy to others. Aging means more loss, but also more love. As we grow older, we inevitably lose more people. But this does not mean we have less love. In fact, it means we have had the privilege of loving deeply. Would you trade your grief if it meant you had never loved at all? Probably not. Grief is painful, but it is also a sign of how deeply we have connected with others. The stronger the love, the deeper the loss. And yet, what a beautiful thing it is to have loved so deeply. The next time you feel overwhelmed by loss, remember, you are not alone in your grief. Love is never truly lost. The people you cherish still live within you. Aging is not just about witnessing loss, it is also about carrying forward the love and wisdom of those who came before us. So instead of clinging to sadness, choose to honor them by living with love, kindness, and presence. Because as long as you continue to love, they will never truly be gone. Aging is a privilege, not a punishment. Aging is not something to fear. It is not a loss, nor a burden, it is a privilege. Not everyone gets to grow old. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every moment of reflection is a sign that we have lived, loved, and learned. The real struggle is not against time, but against our resistance to it. When we stop fighting change and instead embrace it, we find peace. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from clinging, from trying to hold onto what cannot be held. But like a river, life flows forward. When we let go of resistance and learn to move with the current, we discover freedom. A final reflection. Just like a river, everything flows. Learn to let things come and go naturally. Aging does not mean fading away, it means stepping into a new chapter with wisdom, grace, and acceptance. The beauty of life is not in its permanence, but in its fleeting, ever-changing nature. If this message resonated with you, like, comment, and subscribe. Let's continue this journey of wisdom together. Which of these lessons spoke to you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, we would love to hear your perspective.